Hello all, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today in this video, let's see how we can build event-driven pipeline. So event-driven pipeline is a fundamental workflow where any data engineer should know. In this video, we will see how we can build it using AWS and Azure as well. And we can compare which one is more simple and which one cost more based on the data we have. So for this particular um, project or pipeline, I've used a data source and a simple data source, nothing fancy. Like for the Azure workflow, I took a more uh, dedicated for a crime investigation data set, and for this one, it's a simple random from I took it from Kaggle. To get started with, we have an S3 source where we will just upload the files directly, and we have SNS. So, and also we have SQS and Lambda. You can see the workflow. Like after that, we will have that migration using Glue, and again will be storing the data in S3 target, and again we have a crawler to trigger as soon as a new file gets inserted in the target. And yeah, we'll be using Athena to create the views, and so that finally we use QuickSight. So in this workflow, there is only one non-functional thing is like only the QuickSight because I couldn't get that subscription for now. So, but in Azure, it's a complete pipeline where we have a blob storage and we have an ADF trigger, which triggers the copy activity and then stores in the target file, target location. And we have Databricks notebook to do that deduplication and all those transformations necessary. And we'll be using Synapse to create SQL catalog, and then we'll be using Power BI to query it. I mean, the SQL views. So to begin with S3, in S3, we it's as soon as we place the data in S3, in SNS we create a topic where we create a topic in such a way that as soon as a new file comes in, this send a notification, and in SQS this SNS is subscribed, and this SQS what it does is it just puts the every notification in a queue. So after every uh, for each event, the SQL glue captures that, and in glue, we have the transformation and source and sync. So in the transformation itself, since we are running the glue over here, we don't put any target, but for source, we'll be mentioning S3, and we have to also configure the connection between S3 and Lambda. So in this glue, we just create a custom code which runs the glue job. So in this job, what we are doing is we are converting source CSV to Parquet target, and then we are using Lambda crawler again. As soon as we get a new target file over here, we are initiating the crawler over here. This Lambda function, what it does is it invokes this crawler again, and it updates the glue catalog wherever we did have the data. So in Athena, we will be creating a query or whatever additional views or additional analytical values or whatever we need for better visualizing. So this is the AWS workflow, and let's see how it is done in actual AWS. So initially, let's go to S3, and this is where we have our source data. Okay, so yeah, actually I'm using the same data for both. So here we can see that we have three files, and let's try to upload a file. So we have be three files. So 2023. So let's upload this and let's see if we have any. So each file is 50 MB file. Okay, this file is uploaded and let's go back and let's see if we have anything. And this is the target location and not yet, not got yet. Yeah, the job got succeeded and let's see if we received the file in the target location. Um, yeah, I think we did. We did, and let's see if we have the catalog updated or not. Let's check Athena. So I think initially it is this amount, and let's see, let's run this again. Again. Yep, we have a little bit change. We have 20,000 records roughly added again. So yeah, now let's see how this entire thing works. Mm, So we saw the source file and let's go to simple notification service. And in topics, we create a new topic and we create a subscription for that particular queue. And also we have to make sure we have a given a proper access policy to um, accept to read the source and also to for the topic and subscriptions. And then go back to SQS. Here you create a queue and you attach that as in a subscription. Go back to Lambda. In Lambda, we have two Lambda functions over here. As you can see, we have one and two, one for glue and which is migration over here. And here the source will be SQS, and in configuration, we have to add that particular queue to this source so that it gets all the data from SQS. But over here, we should also add the permission to read it. I think I used a service principal over here, which has permission to read S3 locations and all. And coming to the code, as you can see, we need to have that Boto 3 installed, I mean imported. And this is a basic Lambda handler. And we initiate the glue client and then records that body. This body loads all the messages, like all everything we have which coming from the SQS, which the notifications in SQS, and this reads the message and we capture the bucket name and file prefix. And in this case, it means It means data, I mean the location and the exact file name, like a data 2020 or something. Let's go to S3S source incidents. So until here we have source path, and file prefix is nothing but this, the new file data underscore 2023, and that is input, like that is given as an input to the glue job, and then this glue job runs with an input arguments with bucket name and file prefix. And once we deploy this, let's go back to glue job and let's see the script. And here we have all the necessary packages imported, and then we have argument list which will be getting from the lambda function. One is bucket name and file prefix, and will be then running, like, for this is for logging purposes, like we're just printing if things are loaded correctly. And now we are getting the date time, and we are just formatting the date time, and then we are just loading this, like while creating the target Parquet file. We also integrate data for better understanding, and then we'll be reading the CSV, and this is some basic simple transformation, nothing fancy. We just remove duplication, and we just resort the index, and then we just convert that into Parquet file, and we just save it in the target URL over here. We just given a target URL and, sorry, target path, which is again in S3, and the file format. So after this, we can just go back to the second Lambda function, which triggers, and for this we have S3 target as a source. And so how do we do that actually? So let's see. So in target, go to permissions. So I think access policy, no, properties, sorry. In properties, in the event notification, you can just create an event notification, and you can just give lambda over here. So you can do this via over here or through the lambda function also. So now the core part. Again, it's a basic lambda template. You give a region, crawler name, and you just invoke the client, and you just create the client, and you just start the GRU crawler, and go to crawlers. Have this ready, and you just create this crawler, where it just for the data source we get S3, and it creates a database over here, incident database. So you can just directly create crawler from like add table using a crawler. Crawler does nothing fancy over here. It just reads the target and creates, like, it's just a connection between the target Parquet and this data catalog and glue. So glue catalog, again, it's a simple database, and then we can just use Athena to um, query that. So we can just select the data source as data catalog and database as C, and we can find the instance over here, and we can just create whatever query we need, views we need, and we can just add extra filters, and then we can use um, QuickSight to sorry, to visualize all of those things. So that's it for AWS. Yeah, welcome back to this simple event-driven pipeline workflow. And in the second part, we'll be discussing how we did it using Azure. So Azure is more straightforward and more easy and flexible. And at the end of the video, I'll just show how we can just build this dashboard. It is simple, and it a bit interesting as well. I'll also show how we can just build this data modeling, how I build this data modeling and all. And coming to the project, so let's see. Yeah, we have to initially all those basic steps. We need to create a resource group, and again a storage account, and workspaces for Databricks and Synapse Analytics. And yeah, let's see. Let's get into this. We go to containers and source. So for this particular project, we have three containers since we are using partial medallion like uh, architecture. We have a target and we have a silver layer. So target has a raw data and silver has that deduplicated and more transformed data. And by the time it is in silver, we are converting it into delta format. So we can directly query that from Synapse Analytics. So in the source, again, we have the same um, data and we can just upload the file. And yeah, we uploaded the new file. So for now, it shows that we have 871,000 total cases over here. And let's see. Mm, If it is published, you don't have to manually refresh this again and again. Since I haven't published this yet, let's try to refresh in a minute after making sure that it is placed in the target. So as you can see in this workflow, it triggers the ADF first. So let's go back and see what is happening in the ADF. So data factory, launch the studio. In the meantime, let's also do the open Synapse, launch workspace. Okay, let's see the pipeline. Oh, we can just need to go to monitor. Okay, this is in progress and it is triggered by like data ingestion. Like I just created a trigger for that. Mm, should be done by now. So while this is in progress, let's see what is happening in. Okay, so it should be done by now. Hmm, strange. Yeah, coming to the notebook is pretty straightforward. We are just having like we are just creating this Spark session over here, and we are just importing all the modules necessary, and then we create a widget. So parameter over here, which will be usually coming from the ADF back there. Oh, shouldn't take this long. And we're just checking the source and silver paths over here. And here we have reading the Parquet files, and then we are trying to normalize by performing like trimming like from the raw columns, and then we are just using this business key converting it into string, and we are just also adding the process time with the current timestamp to say which when it is processed. And then we are using this deduplication, meaning we are removing the nulls over here, and we now what we are doing is we are merging the data and again placing it into the silver table. So here we initialize silver, meaning we just whatever the deduplicate table is there, it will be stored over here. It will be saved in this particular in the delta format, and this overrides this particular thing for now. Like this overrides it, and whatever, for example, if there are two files created at the same time, this just overrides and make sure it has a most recent file. And in this delta, we are merging this newly created one with an existing already whatever we have, the data silver data we have. We are just trying to merge the newly created database with that particular thing, and then we are storing them as a delta format in the target file. So this is just to check if we have in a location we have that table and that existing or not. So that's it for this notebook. And in the Synapse, so here we can just see for querying and like for see how the data is, and you can find a lot of nulls over here. But yeah, we're not going so deep. Like here you can see the process time which we added as well, and for some of this we are just created that normalization by converting them few things into string. This will be mostly string, or you can just convert it into big integer or something like that. And database, we are this is a CIDB database. We can just create a database based on the target, because since it's also a delta format, it's easy to create without a crawler over here. And oh, oh, it actually got succeeded, and you should see this. Mm, So in target, we just need to make sure that we have a new file added. Yeah, it is new file added. And then in silver incidents, oh, we just let's check the date. Yep, we can find something over here. And now the Power BI part. Let me just quickly refresh the schema. We have an 871,000 records, and let's see if we can get any. We should get actually. Oh, yeah, I got it. So we have an extra 100,000 records added. So we can see how the crime rate is. Like initially it is like after 2024 it has it has gone down, and in 2023 like it's pretty much constant from 2020 to 2024. And the most incidents are like vehicle stolen, vehicle theft, and most crimes often occur in streets and in central area. And here you can see the crimes are mostly for this is a data set for the crimes mostly in Los Angeles. Yeah, we can also filter it by 2020 dates and 2021 and 2024, 2025. So it's actually taking time, like it's just loading. So you can't find immediate things. Let's say in 2024 if vehicle theft in 2024 also vehicle theft, it's still the topmost crimes. Maybe Los Angeles people should be very careful while locking their cars. Yep. Now let's see how we build each of the component of in this. So the most of the work is done in the um, ADF part, we just create a simple source, and initially we make sure we have a parameters over here. We created two pipeline parameters, source path and source name. And then, so we have a general, we just name it whatever we want to name it, and then we just provide these two source paths. And here we mention that it this particular source needs some parameters, and then we create that connection. And in source we give that parameter as a pipeline parameter, meaning something that is coming in, like given to the pipeline, and pipeline takes that parameter and puts in the source. And in sync it's pretty much straightforward. We just create a target Parquet file, we just provide that target, and then we just create mapping. And whenever we want, like if we want to change any field name over here, we can just do. And Parquet doesn't support empty spaces, so make sure you also replace those all the blank spaces with underscores. And it's always advisable to never to keep underscores, always, sorry, never to keep blank spaces, always use underscores. And then now in the Databricks, for this Databricks, we are also giving in base parameters, we are giving input as a pipeline thing from as a target file as input. Again, here even in the target file parameter, we are just giving the source name, file name, because over here the target file name is still same as the source file, only the Parquet is like only the extension or the format is changing, right? So we can just use the same name. And then we just mention that notebook whatever we want to do it, and then we just create a test connection, and it validates it. And in this, like in this trigger, we just add a trigger, and we just provide all the necessary like variable container and all incidents and blob create, like all whenever we add a file then it does. And we can just click on this, and if we continue, and now whenever we remove the file, it sends the notification based on that. So we can ignore the empty blobs, and this is currently is in a active status. And here it shows like what how many matches we have and all. And again, so here for the pipeline we created source folder path and all. For that particular thing, the input is sent via the trigger. So whenever you add the file, so the triggers captures the folder path and file name, and then it sends to pipeline parameters. So trigger is nothing but more like a notification. So it does has a body. So based on that body, we are just capturing this file path and file name, and then we publish, and it's another story. So in I think we discussed this already. Yeah, coming to the Power BI, so we can just simply connect. So let me show you how I connected the data. So I just clicked on Synapse Analytics, and then I connected, and I just mentioned the server database. And this one import is something, even after publish you always need a manual refresh. Import is it just keeps the cache within the Power BI. So direct query is establishing a direct connection between the silver via Synapse to this particular dashboard. So no data is stored in Power BI. So as you can see, I just created few measures as well for crimes year to date and top areas, top crimes, top total crimes, which I used as a KPIs and all. And so I created a dimensions table, so which have a columns of calendar, year, and all that necessary. So and crime type, and again crime area. You can see the scheme over here. So the code over here, and yeah, as per the relationship area, this will be unique area type, and we have a one to many relationships over here. Like each area can have any number of incidents, and each day we can have any number of incidents. Similarly, each crime type can be occurred any number of times. So everything has a one to many relationships over here. And yeah, that's it for this video. We can just, I'm not gonna be discussing like how I particularly created, because that's gonna be very long. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned about how we can build up event driven pipeline both in AWS and Azure. And before that, let's see. Before that, let's see which is more difficult to build, which took a lot of time to build compared to cost purpose. Since we have a less data, both have a negligible cost, and compared to the time and effort, AWS took longer time to build, whereas Azure can, like, the entire pipeline can be built and be operational within a few couple of steps. Like it can be done within 1.5 hour, whereas AWS might take around 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.